Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we journey deep into the frozen heart of one of the most chilling and disturbing mysteries of the 20th century, a case that has haunted investigators, scientists, and storytellers for decades, a story where fear, isolation, extreme nature, and unanswered questions collide. This is Inside the Dyatlov Pass incident. What really killed them? A mystery that begins with ambition and adventure and ends with 9 experienced hikers dead under circumstances so bizarre that even modern science struggles to provide a single, satisfying explanation. Our story begins in January 1959, in the Soviet Union, during the height of the Cold War, when a group of 9 young, intelligent, and highly trained hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute set out on a challenging winter expedition across the northern Ural Mountains, led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, an experienced outdoorsman whose name would later become inseparably linked to the tragedy. The group consisted of students and recent graduates, all skilled skiers, all physically fit, and all certified at the highest level for extreme winter travel, meaning these were not amateurs chasing danger but disciplined individuals who understood the risks and respected the power of nature. Their goal was to reach Mount Otorten, a remote and unforgiving peak, as part of a Category 3 expedition, the most difficult rating at the time, and by all early accounts, the journey began normally, even joyfully, with photographs showing smiles, laughter, and confidence, capturing moments of youth and optimism frozen in time. However, as the group pushed deeper into the wilderness, conditions worsened, temperatures dropped below -30 degrees Celsius, winds intensified, and visibility deteriorated, forcing them off their planned route, and on February 1, 1959, instead of descending into the forest for shelter, the group made a fateful decision to set up camp on the exposed slope of Kholat Syakhl, a mountain ominously named by the local Mansi people as Dead Mountain, a name that would later feel terrifyingly prophetic. That night, something happened inside that tent, something so sudden, so overwhelming, and so terrifying that it drove 9 rational, trained individuals to act in ways that defied logic and survival instinct. When the hikers failed to return or send word by their expected date, a search party was eventually launched, and on February 26, rescuers discovered the group's tent abandoned on the mountainside, partially collapsed, covered in snow. But the most shocking detail was not the tent itself, it was the way it had been left behind, because investigators found that the tent had been cut open from the inside, as if the occupants had fled in a desperate panic, unable or unwilling to use the proper exit. Even more disturbing, footprints leading away from the tent showed that several hikers left wearing only socks or barefoot, some partially dressed, despite the lethal cold, a detail that immediately raised the most haunting question of all: what could possibly scare people into running half-naked into a frozen wasteland at night? The footprints led downhill toward the tree line, where the first bodies were discovered near a large cedar tree. 2 of the hikers found dead beside the remains of a small fire, wearing minimal clothing, their hands burned, suggesting a desperate attempt to stay warm, while broken branches above them indicated that someone had climbed the tree, possibly to look back toward the tent or to escape something unseen. Between the tree line and the tent, searchers later found the bodies of 3 more hikers, positioned as though they had attempted to return to the campsite, collapsing one by one in the snow, their deaths attributed to hypothermia. Yet the story only grew darker as spring arrived and melting snow revealed the remaining 4 bodies in a ravine deeper in the forest, and these hikers showed injuries that crossed the line from tragic to terrifying: crushed skulls, shattered ribs, internal bleeding comparable to a high-speed car crash, yet with little to no external trauma, no cuts or bruises that could explain such force. One woman, Lyudmila Dubinina, was found without her tongue, eyes, and parts of her face, a detail that fueled decades of horror and speculation, while traces of radiation were later detected on some of the clothing, a revelation that pushed the case beyond natural explanation and into the realm of conspiracy. Soviet authorities conducted an investigation, but it was riddled with secrecy, missing files, and vague conclusions, ultimately closing the case with the chilling statement that the hikers died due to a compelling natural force, a phrase so ambiguous that it satisfied no one and explained nothing. Theories exploded in every direction: avalanches, military weapons testing, secret missiles, infrasound-induced panic, katabatic winds, KGB cover-ups, alien encounters, yet each theory explained only part of the puzzle while leaving critical details unanswered. The avalanche theory, long considered the most rational, argued that a slab avalanche may have threatened the tent, forcing the group to flee quickly, but critics pointed out the lack of typical avalanche evidence and the delayed discovery of bodies. Others proposed infrasound, low-frequency sound waves created by wind patterns around the mountain that could induce intense fear and panic, suggesting the hikers may have fled in terror without understanding why, yet this too failed to explain the severe internal injuries. More sinister theories suggested military involvement, citing the radiation, eyewitness reports of glowing orbs in the sky, and the Soviet Union's history of secrecy, proposing that the hikers may have stumbled into weapons testing or classified experiments. While skeptics dismissed these claims as Cold War paranoia amplified by incomplete records, psychologically, the Dyatlov Pass incident is horrifying because it strips away the illusion of control. These were capable people who did everything right, yet still found themselves overwhelmed by a force they could not see, fight, or understand. Decades later, modern investigations reopened the case, using advanced simulations and forensic analysis, and in 2020, Russian authorities officially concluded that a delayed slab avalanche combined with extreme weather conditions caused the tragedy, suggesting that the hikers fled the tent to escape danger and later succumbed to injuries and exposure. But even this explanation remains contested, because it still fails to fully explain the radiation, the missing soft tissue, the calm arrangement of some bodies, and the sheer terror implied by the events. The Dyatlov Pass incident endures not because of what we know, but because of what remains unresolved, the exact trigger, the sequence of decisions, the final moments inside that tent, and the reason fear overcame training and reason so completely. Today, the mountain still stands silent, indifferent, its slopes unchanged, as if guarding the truth beneath layers of snow and time, while the names of the 9 hikers live on, remembered not just as victims, but as symbols of how fragile human certainty becomes when faced with the unknown. And now, as we step away from the frozen silence of Dyatlov Pass and return to the present, we are left with a haunting realization that the question is not simply what killed them, but whether the full truth will ever be known at all. Because some mysteries are shaped not by a single answer, but by the terrifying space between explanations, where fear, nature, and secrecy intersect. Thank you for joining me on this deep exploration into one of the most chilling unsolved tragedies in history. And as we close this story, remember this: Dyatlov Pass does not just claim lives, it claims certainty, leaving behind only fragments of truth buried beneath snow, silence, and a question that refuses to die. What really killed them?